Simia.
All right, we'll just wait a second till Sumia sits down. All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Jim Bray, and I'm the chair of the Environmental Council in Lower Makefield Township. And we are about to start the EAC meeting for March 13th, 2025. The first item on the agenda is review approval of the February 13th, 2025 minutes. They were sent out. I think everybody certainly had a chance to review them. Do we have any requests for changes or additions? Or if not, I would entertain a motion to approve them.
I entertain a motion.
All right, do we have a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That was an easy start. So the meeting minutes are approved. JJ, we're going to put you on right now, okay? So we don't bore you with the other next 50 minutes of the meeting.
Sounds
So
great.
you want to introduce yourself and
Yeah, for sure. And for the record, I don't think any of these EAC matters would bore me, but I appreciate you putting me first in the meeting. Can you guys see the presentation that I'm sharing on my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, great. So I'm Jonathan Robinson. Most people call me JJ. I am a professional engineer with Herbert, Rowland, and Grubik, HRG for short. And we have been tasked with updating the stormwater management ordinance for Lower Makefield Township. Like I said, I know you guys have a pretty full agenda tonight, so I'll quickly run through this presentation. I'm only going to be touching on the high level points of the updates to the stormwater management ordinance. There are a lot more updates that I could dive into if you guys have questions, but it is a 93-page ordinance, so we're just going to touch on key points. All right, so jumping right into it. Our goal of updating the ordinance was really to make it comprehensive and modernized to current stormwater standards to address stormwater quality, quantity, adding construction standards, and promoting innovative best management practices like low impact development and green infrastructure. And by doing this, we should minimize the impacts of unmanaged stormwater within the township, increase the quality of life for residents, and enhance resiliency of the more frequent and intense storm events we are facing today. I'm not going to dive into the sources that we pulled from to develop this ordinance, but just want to touch on two key ones. We did pull information from the draft PADEP 2028 model ordinance and from the draft PADEP post-construction stormwater management manual. As you can see, by pulling information from these draft documents, we are looking into the future and adopting soon-to-be stormwater management standards to come. Hopefully those will be official documents within the next year or so that will be released by Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. A quick overview of our process to get to where we are today for hopefully stormwater management adoption is we kicked this project off back in February 2024, had some initial stormwater management revisions, basically tackling the low-hanging fruit, we would say, of the original ordinance. We developed a work plan with the township, provided recommendations to the Board of Supervisors and the EAC back in April to June timeframe last year. And then from that timeframe, we drafted the stormwater management ordinance, reviewed it with the township, and also developed a stormwater management ordinance subcommittee with township staff and select members from Planning Commission, Board of Supervisors, and EAC as well. And now here we are today, hopefully moving forward with the adoption process. So diving into the updates of the ordinance itself, like I said, these will just be high level, hitting on the key points of the updates, and we'll go by article of the ordinance. So starting with Article 1, the general provisions, this is basically like your legalese language of the ordinance, and we added a couple sections, including the erroneous permit section and the waiver section, to confirm we are now compliant with the model ordinances that are out there today. In the second article, Article 2 of the definitions, we added, expanded, and deleted the definitions for consistency throughout the ordinance. And the big definitional change that we made was regarding impervious area. So not only is your traditional impervious area like concrete, pavement, roofs considered an impervious area, we now took a hard stance that all rocks, crushed stone, and aggregate are considered fully impervious, as well as pools, ponds, and other permanent stormwater water storage areas. Those are considered fully impervious. However, elevated surfaces like decks and awnings, as long as there is a fully vegetated surface beneath them, are not considered impervious, and pervious pavement is considered partially impervious in accordance with the zoning ordinance. Moving on to Article 3, the stormwater management standards of the ordinance. We added a new section for riparian buffers. This would require easements to be placed along all riparian buffers for any water body, including streams, rivers, ponds, wetlands, and also adding minimum management requirements for those riparian buffers, including replanting any dead or fallen trees and removing invasive species. The next section, 304, we added stormwater management facilities standards to make sure that the stormwater facilities that are constructed within the township are built to current construction standards and best management practices. We also recommend the use of non-structural and green infrastructure stormwater management facilities, and we prefer open air and surface BMPs as compared to underground BMPs to really encourage evapotranspiration and infiltration of stormwater into the ground. We also added similar standards for stormwater conveyance facilities. These are basically your stormwater facilities that bring water from one area of a lot to another. This includes your storm sewers, gutters, and swales. And then we also went into the calculation methodologies in section 306, added some additional standards in there to confirm that the applicants are performing the correct calculations for the township to review. The big thing I would like to touch on here is for any major stormwater management permit and redevelopment sites. These are your sites with greater than 5,000 square feet of impervious area. If there is existing impervious area on the lot that may be redeveloped or removed, it will be considered 100% meadow for calculation purposes, meaning that if the current lot doesn't have any stormwater management controls, whenever they redevelop it, they should be putting in stormwater controls for the entirety of that impervious area. Continuing with Article 3, we increased the volume control standards to provide an additional 20% volume capture and confirming that all of that volume will be evapotranspired, infiltrated, or reused. Same thing with peak rate controls. We increased those by making sure that the post-development rate does not exceed 80% of the pre-development peak rate. And we also added water quality standards in accordance with Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection standards. We also added the stream channel protection requirements to be consistent with model ordinances. We added a stormwater pollution prevention plan within hotspot uses to confirm that stormwater facilities are properly maintained. And last but not least, within Article 3, we added Section 312, the erosion and sediment control and grading requirements, to confirm we're consistent with the current subdivision and land development ordinance within Lower Makefield, and also the forward-thinking 2028 model ordinance. Article 4, this is your stormwater management site plan and report submission requirements. In summary, we increased the requirements for stormwater management site plans and reports to coincide with all the other updates we made throughout the ordinance, and to provide ease of review for not only the plans, but also calculations that are submitted to the township and township engineer for review. And to clearly identify all of these additional requirements, we provided a summary table within Section 404 submission to identify all of the requirements that whether a minor, major redevelopment site would need to complete to submit a proper stormwater management application. And then last but not least, in Article 4, Section 410 project closeout, we now require as-built plans and post-construction infiltration testing in accordance with model ordinances. Article 5 and 6 remained pretty similar from the previous ordinance. However, in Article 5, we do now require that all stormwater management permits provide an operation and maintenance plan, including minor permits as well, and changing how the stormwater management facility operation and maintenance plan is calculated it is now calculated based off the acreage of stormwater management conservation easements on a lot. And for the record, all stormwater management facilities, whether minor or major, now require conservation easement. And then Article 6, like I said, pretty similar to previous, but we did expand upon the expenses that are covered by fees. Article 7, prohibitions. The ordinance now clearly states that illicit discharges are prohibited. That is in accordance with the township's MS4 permit. And now we clearly state that dumping of pollutants and the open storage of pollutants are prohibited. Section 705, regarding illicit discharges as well. This is also in accordance with the MS4 permit. If pollutants do enter a waterway, then the person in charge of that pollutant at the time of spillage shall contact the township and DEP to inform them of the pollution. And then last but not least, in Article 8, enforcement and penalties, we did increase the inspection and reporting requirements for applicants and owners of stormwater management facilities. This is in accordance with model ordinances, within new NPDES permit requirements. And then we also created a standard for how the township will inform applicants of violations of the stormwater management ordinance. Then for the dependencies, again, these stayed pretty similar from the previous ordinance, but we did expand upon the stormwater management site plan application, the site design worksheet, and created a new post-construction BMP investigation report to coincide with the ordinance updates as well. The Appendix I site design worksheet, that is the worksheet for minor stormwater management permits. So if a applicant or a resident came in and wanted to add a small addition onto their house, they would be able to utilize the small design worksheet and not have to receive engineer design or approval to complete that. There are instructions and a design table in there to allow residences to complete that application rather than an engineer. So in summary, I know I quickly ran through everything and I'd be more than happy to answer some questions if there are any, but we believe that the updates to the Lower Makefield Township Stormwater Management Ordinance are now compliant with all regulations and model ordinances, including your Act 167 plan and the PADEP model ordinances. We believe the ordinance is consistent, not only within itself, but also within other ordinances within the township. We believe that ordinance is modern, as is evident by us forward thinking into those draft documents from PADEP. We believe the ordinance is resilient and sustainable for those more frequent and wet storm events. And we also believe we have received approval and concurrence from township staff, planning commission, board of supervisors, and hopefully the EAC tonight. So with that, I will open it up and ask for any question.
Well, JJ, first of all, thank you very much for the presentation. Kind of a quick run through, but I think you hit just about all the corners. I have one just general comment. It's my understanding that this did not negate our LID ordinance. It's additive to it. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. And our ordinance actually does reference the LID ordinance as well, so they can work concurrently together.
All right. Anybody have any questions or comments?
I just have two questions. One that you've already hinted on, so I don't have to ask that. My one concern was when people discharge their pools, when they clean out their pools, is that covered under this new set of ordinances?
Yes, there is standards for how residences should discharge pool discharge. Typically, it's whenever you discharge it to a large grass area and allow for that water to infiltrate into the ground rather than being discharged directly into storm sewer systems.
Good. And the only other question I have is how much is it going to cost the township so we bring it up to these standards, the MS4 in particular? As in the infrastructure.
Yeah, that's a good question. I wouldn't be able to answer that off the top of my head. I would have to, I'm not informed about the township's MS4 infrastructure and how the new permit would impact that.
Thank you.
Hello, Jonathan. I was on the committee. We met, twice in December, once in February. So I'm fairly familiar with this. And And I must apologize. We just got the final copy an hour ago. I got 2 copies, and hopefully the rest of the members can get copies of the ordinance if you want them. But I will say, I'm fairly familiar with it, and it's a good ordinance. I recommend we pass it. It's got a lot of new things. It's got enforceable riparian buffers are going to be required now. It has better volume control, better peak rate control, and it has pollutant standards now, which we didn't really have before. So it's bringing everything up to date. And it's all good. The only complaint I have is we should have had a rain garden description in Appendix I, but we're going to have a rain garden lecture on, what is it, April
April 12th.
12th. So
So-
people can learn about rain gardens there, I guess. But yeah, did a good job. I appreciate this.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And regarding rain gardens, if the township were to want that within the ordinance in the future, I believe that could be an easy
Addition, yeah.
an easy addition to Appendix I in the future through an addendum and amendment.
Okay. But yeah, it's a good ordinance. I
Yep.
hope it passes.
Kevin, you were involved in this too. Do you have any input or comments?
I missed the beginning of the presentation and I didn't read the updated ordinance. But does it cover anything about any suggestions or incentives for existing homeowners to improve their conditions who aren't looking to develop?
Can you explain upon that question a little more? Do you have a specific
Yeah.
reference?
Yeah, so like if there's an existing homeowner who's not looking to do any development,
Mhm.
but they might have ways to improve their existing BMPs, is there any incentives for them to do that?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I believe with most development within or any ordinance within a township, it is hard to retroactively fix existing infrastructure unless the applicant decides to perform additional upgrades or modifications to their existing land. I believe even with subdivision, land development, zoning, and stormwater management ordinance, you can't force someone who has their existing BMP to upgrade it unless they choose to themselves to perform additions or modifications onto their land.
No, I'm not talking about forcing someone who's grandfathered in. I'm talking about incentives for them to do it
Voluntarily.
voluntarily.
Gotcha.
There could be a lot of opportunity there.
Mhm. Understood. And I don't think the ordinance is the correct avenue to do that. I believe there are probably other avenues that a township can explore to do something similar to what you are speaking of. And I believe that should be something that the township can explore in the future.
All right. Are there any more questions?
Just real quick, can you provide that summary presentation with all the updates in it? Like
Yes.
the highlights? Thank you.
Yep.
Jim Majewski emailed us a couple of documents like an hour ago, and it might be in there, but I'm not sure.
I think
I
there
don't-
was an ordinance and a presentation.
Okay, so
I
yeah,
didn't
we
read it
have
yet.
it already.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, look, JJ, thank you. Oh, John. I'm
Well,
sorry.
yeah. So, the Commonwealth just is revising out their NPDES requirements for MS4. This will put us already in compliance with what's envisioned with the draft notice of proposed rulemaking. So we're
Yes.
okay. So shouldn't have any worries. That's just getting started at the state level. And have you guys filled out any comments on that proposed rulemaking or any of your thoughts on that? Just to make sure that we're in good shape.
Yeah. HRG has reviewed the draft MS4 permit and has provided comments to PADEP. I will put the caveat in. I believe our ordinance is consistent with the draft model ordinance as of right now, but as I stated, it is draft and is subject to change. So there could be minor modifications that are required in the future, but I believe the general intent and calculation methodology that the ordinance presents, we are in compliance with.
And we would still be more restrictive than the proposed rules, right? Or,
Correct.
okay. That's all I had.
All right, if there's no other questions, JJ, I want to thank you very much. The consensus about the proposal from the two EAC members who contributed was very, very positive. And also, I'd like to single out the work that Kevin and Alan did as far as this proposal was concerned. Basically, everything that they proposed was incorporated into the ordinance. So I want to thank you again for coming here tonight and for the work that you did for the township over the last several months.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it.
Okay, we are now on to the next item on the agenda, which is the 2024 Long Range Master Tree Plan. And with respect to that, I talked to Jim Majewski a week or two ago, and where we are right now is in the bidding process. Matter of fact, the bids might have been put in just recently, if not probably within the next couple of days. What's envisioned for the 2024 plan is that we're going to have a spring planting of roughly about 50 trees, because this brings us in under the $23,000 guideline, meaning that we don't have to advertise. And, John, maybe you might want to even help us out with that a little.
On the procurement threshold where we have to
Yeah.
have bids is 25,000.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have to have competitive
Bids,
Yeah,
right.
okay.
Yeah.
You can just. go
All right.
one person.
However, if you're taking $100,000 project and chopping it into four, that kind of violates the spirit.
No, yeah. John, we would never think of even doing anything as nefarious as that.
Okay.
So the second planning will be in the fall. And as soon as the bids are received and as soon as we start the first planning, we're going to start work on the second planning. And that will be more involved. We'll probably be thinking maybe about 150 trees for that planning at various, locations through the township. And Alan and I worked with Jim in the first go round, and we made suggestions in various areas, which Jim incorporated, then it's reviewed with other township people. And it's going to be kind of a blend of opinions from several people. But the main thing is we're planting trees. Okay, that's the bottom line. Any comments on that?
The one thing that I get asked for by one supervisor is public participation in the planting. And I'm wondering if there's thoughts about that for the fall planting at all, where people can help dig and plant trees.
Yeah, our plan right now is to have the community involved in the fall planning,
Okay.
because the long range plan right now calls for 1,545 trees to be planted, 1,319 shrubs, and 1,500 perennials. Now, community involvement, I think, is very, very important, but not for 2.5 to 3 inch trees, because the weight factor there is just negates community help. But we're going to be planting a lot of shrubs in the fall and a lot of perennials, and that's an ideal occasion where community can help.
Do we have any thoughts on location for this volunteer planning? Because it'll have to be a
No, that's
special location.
as we did on the first one. We talked to Jim, and we took a couple of rides around the township. Now, the plan specifies plantings in specific areas and specific types. But what we did this time was a little different than the last go round. This time we came up with a concept called reserve trees, because what we found out in the 2016 planning that was finished in 2023 is that once you have the plan, once the plan is finished, then you start changing it. So rather than have to go back to the board or everybody every time a minor change occurred, the reserve trees gives us the flexibility of looking at specific areas and say, okay, hey, let's put 20 trees in here, and we can take it from the reserve lot. So it gives us a lot more flexibility, I think.
Yeah, so we should be thinking about a location in the next few months. Everybody, when they're driving around the township.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to be doing very soon. All right, any other comments?
With that in mind, are there readily accessible maps showing like what is township property and what's not? So we don't look at private property?
Well, you should look at the tree plan too, the 2024 tree plan, because we're going to focus on those locations. But
Okay.
that doesn't mean they're the only ones, but it's a starting point. Do we have a map of township property? I'm trying, maybe in the,
Well, the Bucks County parcel viewer will
Yeah,
tell
that'll
you
tell you that.
who owns each property. And so everywhere where it says Lower Makefield, and you probably
Yeah.
could do a filter and then get like a quick map.
Okay,
on
I'll play around with that.
have you ever seen the master plan? I think it's 2019 master plan for the
think-
township. Do you,
yeah.
That's-
I can send you a copy. That has a lot of maps.
Yeah, that probably has.
Yeah, I saw that.
You want me to send it to you?
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Also, the 2024 plan details by specific location where these trees are going to be planted. And the public areas are pretty well delineated. So I don't think we're going to have, any issue with that, Kevin. All right. No other comments. Let's go on to recycling. The next Styrofoam EAC recycling event is scheduled for May 17th. And Alan, you want to talk about that a little?
It's scheduled for May 17th. I mean, start thinking about whether you can help out. It's 2 months away, so plenty of time to think about it. And we all know the routine. This won't be our first rodeo. So, so yeah, we just need volunteers. I'll have plastic bags and yeah, it's the same show, but I think it's for sure going to be May 17th.
Okay, that sounds good. And the key to this operation is volunteers. The last several recycling events, we've had plenty of volunteers, and that really makes the whole situation go very, very easy. So that's the key. The next item on the agenda is, oh, I'm sorry,
I can
Dominique.
see my name next to yours.
Right.
Oh,
I don't think I'm going to be here on May 17th.
all right. We'll move the
So-
date. No, no, we'll keep the date.
If you move the date, you might get me because on May 17th, I won't be here.
Oh, come on.
But I have a great excuse. My daughter's graduating, so college.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah, you can recycle anything.
Congratulations. Yeah.
University of New Hampshire,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Great. Huh. All right.
Coffee shops in that. town.
Yeah. I'm down on my last tuition payment.
Ah.
So are we
Uh-oh,
doing
listen.
it May 17th?
Yeah, we have to do May 17th. Yeah.
We
We'll,
are.
we'll miss John, but we'll have a fall collection.
Yeah.
You can- uh-huh.
You can send a proxy.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I got proxy.
People
People owe me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I do I feel a little compelled though to just add a little to what John was saying about the last tuition payment. Going back many, many years, I've had 3 children. One day I looked at my wallet and I had some money in it and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then I looked around and the kids were gone. So it's a long tunnel job, but sometimes there's a light at the end. And congratulations to you and your wife and your daughter, of course. All right, the single trash hauler analysis. The EAC is scheduled to make a PowerPoint presentation at the March 19th BOS meeting. And Alan, why don't you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, we'll give, what is it, 14 slides now? We had a PowerPoint presentation and John gussied it up quite a bit. Looks nice now. And we're just going to go through that presentation. I believe Jim and Cheryl, you'll both be there too. And anybody else can come. You're welcome. But it'll be discussion. We're throwing it out there and we have a recommendation, but it's always up to the supervisors and where you're going to go with it. But yeah, we're just giving you an overview and, paths forward if you want.
Yeah, I just might add that Alan's done the major work on this presentation, and then it's been thoroughly vetted by the EAC. So I think what we've come up with is really a good presentation, and I think it's exactly what the board is looking for. And I think our recommendations make a great deal of sense. But of course, that's up to the board. We supply the report and they decide which way to go.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'd only add to that. I think the positioning of saying that there's no risk with actually doing the RFP and finding out what the savings is exactly.
Right.
Right? Then people can make an informed decision as opposed to just viewing this as a done deal.
Right, yeah. When you get the actual bids in,
Yeah.
then have that meeting, that'll be the big meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, at the earlier proposal that we presented in 2008, 2009, we did some analysis then about other communities. And it's kind of a general statement, but what they found out is at that time, the annual savings to each of the consumers was roughly about $150 a family. Now, whether that holds true today or not, that's to be seen. So.
One other possible benefit, I can't remember if it's in the analysis, is the presumed improvement in customer service if there is an agreement. Because right now, none of the haulers respond when I contact them.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, and we have received, so if residents have contacted supervisors and the township when they've had things like trash strewn all over the street or missed pickups. And yeah, we've gotten those complaints, and that's because they've tried and called and haven't gotten resolution from their hauler, and then we go and follow up with them now. If we were to choose a single hauler, that we would have a lot more leeway and could potentially negotiate service level agreements and corrective actions, which I think is an important thing to think about in the RFP process as well.
Yeah, as I said, we took a thorough look at this, and to us, the logic is somewhat inescapable about a single trash hauler. So we think, and our recommendations do indicate that that is the way to go. However, there are several options, and the board is going to take, I know, a good hard look at that and decide what to do. All right, the next item on the agenda is Birdtown, PA, an update on Plan 2025 activities. We already have had one, and on May 3rd, we're looking to have another. But Jeanne, would you give us a little update on this?
The main thing that we're getting ready to work on right now is that Yardley Borough has become a bird town. And I'm really excited about and have been talking to some of the people in Yardley Borough about Birdtown, and we're going to be getting together with them and doing a lot of collaborating, I think. I mean, we're like right on top of each other. And I think the birds go back in both places. And so I'm looking forward to that. And we have some lectures coming up about that, but I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, on May 3rd, we're having a lecture from the ARC organization. It's that very well-respected Animal Rehabilitation Wildlife Center. And we've come up, I'm going to take credit for this. ARC in the park, okay? I think it's got a nice ring to it.
Brilliant.
And
Please
not
tell them
doesn't have
it's
to be brilliant at it.
So-
Just good.
Be quiet about it. Loves it. Tells everybody.
Well,
about it.
if you can't please yourself at time, who else can you please, right? So anyway, update on land use plans, Alan?
All right, as you know, Torbert Farm sent in their second revision to their preliminary plan. I think it's February 7th. And I sent you a link to the plans if anybody wanted to look at them. They were very similar to the previous plans, almost identical. We submitted a comment letter March 9th, which was essentially the same comments we made on the previous version because they never responded to our comments. So sent that in. The developer appeared before the Planning Commission this last Monday. And they have a new lawyer and they seem a little more accepting of new ideas and stuff. They said we should consider that second revision to the preliminary plan as a sketch plan and, think, broadly of what they could do to maybe improve the development. But we'll see. That the big conversation was about Creamery Road. Did you? Yeah, you. Yeah, the developer had it not connecting with Mirror Lake Road at the light there. It had it the way it is now. And the developer said the township told him to do that. And Supervisor Grenier said, no, we didn't. And so it sounds like they may be connecting them now. I don't know. But that's to be determined.
So the board never took formal action
Yeah.
about a decision to extend the road or realign it. So the direction that the developer has was incorrect. So that would have to be resolved. At this time, I can't speak for my other board members.
No.
The estimate of the cost for that seemed very high. The developer, oh, it was 7 before.
4 or 5, Jim just told me.
Okay, it's coming down. So if we wait another couple weeks, who knows where it could be?
Yeah, a lot of money.
And so that's what is sort of in the question about that one. Now, I can tell you I wouldn't vote for final approval or preliminary approval without having everything reviewed. But there's going to be more work on that, and
Yeah.
we'll make sure. And that may mean a reconfiguration of what the development looks like down the road, but it's still too early. There were other things slowing that down. It wasn't the township in any way that would cause the delays in that review process.
What was the name of the,
Torbert,
what was the name of this?
Torbert
What?
Farm?
Orbit?
Torbert.
Orbit.
Yeah, it's the big farm, 108
Torbert.
acres.
Yeah.
73 houses, something like that. So, yeah, it was suggested they go before the supervisors to discuss this latest plan to get your comments on it. I don't know if they're going to, but that was brought up at the meeting.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that would make the agenda at this time. I don't know.
Yeah, well, not eventually, down
Yeah.
the roads at someplace. Yeah, the planning commission urged them to be more creative, consider open space, vary the lot size, diversify the development, have bigger lots on this end and smaller lots at this end, and maybe have some room for open space or maybe farmland preservation, who knows? But that was suggested and the developer didn't say no, so maybe there's a chance for that. We'll see.
Yeah, well, I think what's happening now is quite positive because I met with the developers and the township officials right at the very start of this process. And we had suggested similar, items like you were just talking about, and they seemed to be very rigid at the time. So this is good. Maybe who knows the reason why, but it's
Could be the change in lawyer.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Ed Murphy before?
I
can't remember.
I'm not commenting.
Oh, yes. So, yeah, they
So he
said,
watches all this stuff.
does he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I were to talk about his poor sectorial choices and Coogee sweater, I mean, that would be inappropriate and wrong.
Back to bite you.
Yeah, it would be, yeah.
Yeah, we're all not commenting on that. So
Yeah. So, yeah, that one to be watched, see what happens. And then just last Friday, we got the 3rd revision to the Wright Farm development. That's how many acres? 53 acres and 47 homes, something like that. But this submittal was better in that they actually responded to our comments and they were some of the things we pointed out they needed waivers for. They're now asking for waivers like they should be. And they're putting a buffer between Yardley Newtown Road and the development. Remember the open space that might have been farmed was in there and it's narrow. It's, 100, 200 feet wide. But now they've got it planted. They've got street trees along Yardley Newtown Road. And you should look at the planning plan or whatever they call it. Jim, because to make sure these trees are right, there are London plane trees along the road.
The London plane trees are in our approved list.
Yeah.
It's actually, though, the only tree that's not 100% native. The London plane tree is probably one of the most heavily used trees in the world because it has some incredible characteristics. One of them is it's pollution free, and it's a cross between the American and the Asian plane tree, and or the sycamore.
Sycamore.
Rather. So the name is London plane tree. When you go to places like England and France, you can see these trees all over the boulevard. They're magnificent, even though they're only half native. Okay, so.
Yeah. And they also put a extensive buffer on the open space property right near the houses.
Right.
So there's a row of trees along the street, and then there's a vegetative buffer in the open space near the homes. So that's a definite improvement. They've gone to, I think it was 304 trees they were planting originally, and those were mostly street trees along those extensive roads they had inside the development, and they've doubled that. It's like 610 or something now. So they've doubled the trees and added a number of bushes and a lot of evergreens, a lot more evergreen trees, which are good for buffering.
Yeah, I'm very eager to see that plan.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I will send out a link to everybody so you can see the plans, and I guess we can comment on it. We have about a month or whatever, but most of our previous comments were addressed, not all of them, but most of them. So progress. It's good.
okay, well, thank you very much, Alan. The next item on the agenda is a proposed single-use plastics ban. Now, I talked to John about this last year, and John's statement was that he wants to wait until we get the single trash hauler proposal behind us before we start actively working on a single-use plastic ban. What we've done, though, in the interim is that Dominique Mitchell and Cheryl Coffey have been doing preliminary work, not by monitoring any of the stores or anything like that, but just seeing what's out there in the way of ordinances. And right now, throughout the United States, about 40% of the people in the United States are covered by a single-use plastic ban. So there's nothing rocket science about this. And I think it's an idea whose time has come. But John will be knocking on your door after the single trash hauler, okay? So. Okay, the EAC lecture series, we touched on this briefly before. On 4/12/26, Jeff Gold, principal of Princeton Hydro, is going to be giving a lecture on rain gardens at the administration building. And we have these nice flyers. Alan does the artwork on these, and I think he always does a nice job. And we've just started to distribute these. Oops. On May 3rd, Arc in the Park. Okay. And then on May 31st, microplastics. And I think this is going to be a very well-attended one because this concept is very disconcerting. You know, one of my theories is that maybe 50 years from now, when children are born, they're going to have plastic ears, you know, but who knows? It's upsetting, and I don't think there's 100% of the information that people know about it right now. But Mike Wilbacher is a scientist and author, and he's also giving us past lectures. And he has done some extensive work in the field of microplastics. So I'm looking forward to a really, really good lecture and a lot of good questions from the people attending that lecture. Okay, the updated publicity list. I guess about a month or so ago, Dominique was willing to take on that project. And it's very, very important. This is a project I've been looking at for 2 or 3 years, and I kept saying, oh, we got to do something about that, you know, but it's almost like the doorknob in your house that doesn't work. It takes you about 4 or 5 years to finally, you know, do something about it. But anyway, Dominique took these various pieces of paper and did a wonderful job in combining them and going out for news sources. So now we have a 3-page publicity list, and this has served us very well already, because when we have a lecture now, Dominique just basically goes down the list, decides who the information should be sent to. And the first lecture we've had, Naughty by Nature, was pretty well attended. So Dominique, thank you for the good job, by the way. And is there anything you'd like to add?
No, it's just that the list is getting bigger and bigger every time. Longer and longer, but that's, no, that's.
Well, that's good. And we've also talked to other municipalities, Newtown and Yardley, not about this, but then when I mentioned this, they were really, really excited. So, there's nothing holy about our list, and it's in the public domain as far as we're concerned. So we give that information freely, and if that can help them, all well and good. Thank you again, Dominique. Nice job. Okay, the last Arbor Day plaque preparation. The plaque is finished, and the township has it, and it will be installed shortly. They did an absolutely beautiful job on it, and it will be installed in front of the red maple in front of the building. Derek Fuller already has it, and he said he'll give me a call when he's ready to install it. And so that should be done, I think, in another week or two. Again, really, really beautiful job on the plaque. But then again, the dedication is to all the employees of Lower Makefield Township, all the board members and volunteers. So I think it's fitting that we do something special. All right, the April 26, 2025 Arbor Day tree planting celebration. Again, we're going to be dedicating the tree planting to a group. I talked to Dave Kratzer about this, and I had a couple of suggestions. And for minor reasons, there were some issues with some of the, recommendations. So in talking with Dave, we thought that veterans and military personnel, past and present, living in Lower Makefield Township, would be appropriate to dedicate the tree to. Now, I also, wrote up a little dedication piece, which I can read in a little while, but we need some input on that. I know Kevin comes from a military family, and he thought that, this is all great, but the military is honored in a lot of times in many different ways. But I still think, it's appropriate, but I'll open the floor to if anybody has any other ideas as far as dedicatees are concerned.
About firefighters.
Firefighters,
They're volunteers most of the time, aren't
yeah, that's,
Especially with the recent forest fires and those.
yeah. I never thought of that. I think that,
Well-
yeah, because these are volunteers too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so any other thoughts or?
Flip a coin.
I think that's a good thought. I mean, because firefighters also help protect the trees.
Sure. Yeah, well, that seems appropriate. So, okay, so all in favor of the April 26th tree planting be dedicated to our local firefighters? Everybody in favor of that?
Mhm.
Aye.
All right, okay, all right. I will write up the appropriate words, and John, keep the April 26th date like you did the November 9th date. We will, the other thing is, here's where we need a little help. Finding a location. Now, the other thing we should vote on too is the tree species. The last time, there were two mentioned in the first Arbor Day, and that was a red oak and a maple. Maple won out. Unfortunately, Alan really, really likes red oak, but So I think maybe we can accommodate them this time by suggesting northern red oak, which is an absolutely magnificent tree. So does anybody have an issue with that? All right, northern red oak it is. All right. Okay, I also will have a plaque made, but I don't have the plaque made until after the tree is planting and the ceremony, because these are expensive, and if the date goes wrong or something else, but I will take care of that as well. So this is good. I think this is, I'm very pleased. This is very appropriate, I think. So, and thanks for your suggestion, Dominique. I think it was an excellent one.
You're smart.
Oh, yes. Before we get off this, we need a tree location. And Alan, now this should be a location that's fairly obvious or
The public can see
viewable,
it,
or
yeah.
so if anybody has any ideas, please let me know. Alan and I took a little road tour the other day, and I'm not sure we came up with anything. But I also looked recently on the corner of Oxford Valley and Edgewood Road, in the front of the ball field. There's a big open space there, and that's really high visibility.
That's what I was just gonna suggest, that spot.
Yeah.
Really?
Cause I walk along the path and it's pretty naked and it
Yeah.
could stand to use a little bit of trees and so
Yeah, I
forth.
think so. I mean, there's trees in the back under, that surround the ball field, but
Right.
there's like a big triangle in the front that there's nothing on. So that might be appropriate. Does anybody else have any ideas?
Have any
is it-
houses burnt down lately and?
Uh, All right, well, I'll probably see, when I talk to Dave, I'll probably make that suggestion and see what they think. Okay, I think, you feel the same way, I think, Cheryl, too.
Yeah.
I just noticed that today when I went by. It's a big space there. And
Maybe even some of the landscaping that we do later in the year would be nice to put there, shrubs and
there's a lot there
plants and-
already, but I think it can even use more.
Yeah,
Yeah, you should put it close enough to the path that people on the path can read it.
Can read the
Yeah.
inscription.
Yeah, I was going to suggest it for another reason too. It might help shade the path because it gets pretty hot.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually what Kevin brought up as another consideration in our tree planting regimen. We're looking for areas along pathways that people use regularly
Maybe in the
to
corner.
shade the area when they're walking. So, all right. The 2024 Environmental Stewardship Award plaque and award ceremony. All systems are go there. I prepared a speech for Dan and also a congratulatory letter. Well, a little background. Firstly, there were three clubs in Pennsbury High School that were involved in this project. And basically, it's collecting, cleaning, and distributing used pill bottles to developing countries throughout the world. And a lot of these countries really lack basic medical supplies. So Naima or Swami, is that right? You could, yeah, is
Yeah.
Sumia's daughter, actually.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people weren't even aware of that. But she took it on herself based upon the work that she was doing with the EAC and their collections, and brought that to the key clubs and the Environmental Club and the UNICEF Club. And now these three clubs are cleaning and distributing thousands and thousands of these bottles. So we thought the award would be very appropriate for these clubs. And again, we didn't think it was appropriate to put a single name on that. But what we've done instead is I prepared a congratulatory letter that Dan Grenier is going to sign, pointing out Naima's contribution as far as this project is concerned. So I think this is kind of a win-win all the way around. And we're looking for nice ceremony on the 19th, which is, well, the next board meeting. And the board graciously allowed this to happen early in the agenda. So we're not going to have 40 or 50 people or whoever come have to, I was going to say stand the rigors of a BS board, but that's not true.
Open
How about
comment.
the length of the BOS board. Okay, so anyway, so that actually is turning out very well. We also have a beautiful plaque that's made from Awards and More that it's basically the same style every year because it's just really so pretty. And so that will be awarded as well. The group also earns $1,000 award check too because they're a nonprofit, and that will also be given out at the ceremony. So we're looking, for a nice event, and this is something the supervisors always like because it's a happy event. So, any other questions regarding that? All right, well, let's move on. The EAC and the township newsletters. Paul, I know you want to talk about this briefly because I know you met with John and John Lewis, and I know John is not only a board member, but he's a marketing expert and has been working in the field many, many years. And him and Paul got together, and John gave us some, I think, good information. So, Paul, you want to talk about that?
Yes, I met with our liaison with the Board of Supervisors, John Lewis, and he was very gracious in tutoring me on how to better use our existing email distributor, MailChimp. But for the next newsletter, we'll definitely do an article about the Styrofoam recycling event and about the Environmental Stewardship Award. Probably have some pictures we can put in it. And an article about the single-use plastic bag and the lecture coming up on that. And also about our speaker series for the rain garden event. So that's what I'm planning for the next issue.
All right. Did we figure out how to stop when you put in a flyer, cutting it in half in pieces and things like that?
We're still working on that particular issue. It's not always that easy with this particular program to import stuff in bulk, but we will work on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you need me, we can do like a quick Zoom meeting to fix something if you want to come.
Yeah.
But we did fix the template, the settings, and some other stuff. So there are ways to make it work better for you.
Okay. All right. Now, are there other platforms out there that might perform better, or is this one okay?
I hadn't used this one in years, and it hasn't evolved. The type of work I do is for larger enterprises, so I don't tend to use the stuff that small, medium-sized businesses use. There may be other choices that would be easier to use, but this is probably fine for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other platforms are more expensive. Yeah.
All right. Well, Paul, thank you. And John, thank you very much for your help on this project. Appreciate
There
it.
was many features he showed me that I didn't know were in there, and now that I know how to use them, it's going to make it easier to put it together.
All right. That's great. Again, thank both of you. The LMT stormwater management ordinances, well, we heard HRG's presentation, so I don't think we have to discuss anything there. Bringing solar power to LMT last year, I think I had a conversation with Dave, and he's interested in the possibility of securing some grants, if possible, to bring solar to Lower Makefield Township. And Kevin has been doing some work on that as well. Kevin's, an engineer, and this is the kind of project that I think is, right up his alley. So what we're assuming is that Kevin will be meeting with Dave again, and just to see how we can take this forward in some direction.
Yeah, I'm primarily working with Dan McClune in the planning department, but now that we're part of the regional energy thing. I forget what the name of it is. Lower Makefield was recently accepted into this program, so they're going to be getting guidance from an agency.
Okay.
So that should hopefully be promising.
All right. That sounds good.
That's great.
All right. Odds and ends. We're going to talk here briefly about a chicken ordinance.
Chickens, yeah.
So John Lewis asked us,
Me.
this township resident, asked a question about chicken ordinances in Lower Makefield Township. And so John, in talking to John, he just asked if we could take a quick look at that. So I talked to Kevin before the meeting because obviously I don't want to put him on the spot at the meeting, but he volunteered to take a look at chicken ordinances. So what I'm thinking is that, Kevin, you take a look at a couple of ordinances, make some recommendations, and we can talk about it at the next meeting. Kind of interesting, though. My next door neighbor had a chicken house that was better than some houses I've seen people build, okay? And she actually went to the township and got a variance, I think, to have these chickens. And there's more to it than that about what happened to the chickens, but we're not going to go into that tonight. Okay.
Just for a way of background, if we've had folks file for a zoning hearing board appeal to have chickens, about 2 or 3 in the last, say, 5 years, to the best of my knowledge. And you can apply, there's a link online for those who want to do it. So I think the changes in the economics around eggs is spurring people to be interested in that. The things that you'll have to think about are like the issue of roosters, of noise, and folks have brought this up. There are cases where people will get animals and start very excited about the animal, but then times change. An example is there's a farm called Ross Mill Pig Farm that takes in all the pigs for people that thought, oh, there's a teacup pig, and all of a sudden the pigs, we're a great pet, yeah. And so what happens is then you have a circumstance where you've got abandoned animals that they take in. Chicken's a little different, just in terms of where it is on the sort of animal chain, and the people that eat them, well, they eat pigs too, but so I think the question is, how will chicken coops fit in with neighbors and how to do this? There may be ways that perhaps the way we've done community gardens, there might be a community chicken coop concept. I mean, I think that's where folks can think a little bit about that, and maybe centralize some of the sort of negative externalities of chicken coops.
Memorial Park, yeah.
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 So that's something for you guys to think about. I don't, like I said, just giving you ideas and trade-offs. We've looked at this, like I said, in the past. It's not something, like I said, up until the recent changes in egg prices, I'm talking rare. Even people asking about rare. So I've gotten emails, like I got one recently before this petition, which I didn't know about until I got this email. But it's not, it may be something that people are more interested in now. That may not stay. So if there's a way that the most engaged folks have the opportunity or have a way to do it in a way that's not obtrusive for others, that could be a win. So I that's something for us to look at collectively and see what works best.
Yeah, it should probably,
That makes sense. Unfortunately, taking care of chickens takes more than 5 minutes, okay? And a lot of people, they start something like this and then all of a sudden they find, oh, wow, this is a lot of work. I'm not sure I want to get into this. So I think that's certainly something that we should, take a look at. But, but I don't want to see any roosters in Lower Makefield Township.
yeah.
We have a house in Vermont and we had a rooster that started about 4 or 5 in the morning, and that would levitate you right off the bed. Okay. Actually, the word got out that I was willing to offer a bounty of $100, but that's not true. So,
Yeah, it
so
seems like there'd have to be a number limit, maybe put in like no more than 10 and require certain area forms, things like that would have to be in the ordinance.
Yeah, I think this will be an interesting project, Kevin, because like just what Alan said, a lot of them limit the number.
Yeah, and no
I think,
roosters. Yeah.
Do we have, is it allowed now for in Lower Makefield if you have 5 acres or more?
Yep.
You have to
Yeah.
have 5 acres?
You have to have 5
Oh,
acres.
see.
And one of the variances, the property was 3 acres and it abutted a whole bunch of farmland preservation land.
Right.
So no one was going to hear anything from that one. And that's a great opportunity for those folks, you know, for them to have chickens.
Sure.
And I don't know if they still have them, but
No.
you know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
okay. So a little more than I expected, actually.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, it should also be noted that these things are not totally quiet. Okay? They make noise. And,
well,
I could foresee somebody with the chicken coop right next to their house and, but anyway, so Kevin, we look forward to your answers next meeting. Anything else in odds and ends? Okay, if not, the meeting is going to be officially ended at 8:10.
you
Peter,
want to say anything?
17.
7:10?
7:10?
Yeah.
We love public comment.
Well.
Yeah.
Boy, there's a lot of, well, I'm on 2 other.
Yeah.
Right.
Anybody that wants to talk about more hardcore environmental issues can attend the Patterson Farm meeting after this, where we're going to be talking about a lot of environmental issues on the farm
Oh,
and realigning our budget to deal with those environmental issues.
huh. Are you on the Patterson Farm Committee? Wow, and zoning?
And chickens.
That's the chicken committee now.
No, wait, not chickens. We have our chicken expert on our board.
Yeah.
Say it's zoning, we what do the neighbors say? Tends to be what we'll.
Yeah.
And no roost.
All right,
Yeah,
well, I'm gonna
that would have to be in the
shut off this
ordinance.
meeting, Pause, stop recording, I guess.
More